All right. So as far as my interpretation, it is still. I feel like okay. I feel like I'm trying to tap into the women, and like I said, I could be completely wrong. Like this is probably not even how he feels, but I don't know. And another thing is, I'll get into that later. O Rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found thy bed of crimson joy. Invisible worm. I don't know why I'm depicting the invisible worm because the worm is associated, like I said, something like that's grow. What the freak, bro? Like you be popping up everywhere. That's kind of annoying. Anyways, the invisible worm that flies, and maybe I'm onto something because you're here. I wish I wasn't scared of bugs. Mind you, you literally just saw this probably hit me. I've been seeing this bug. It's crazy. Anyways, the invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm. I'm taking this as worm. Mind you, you better go somewhere. And you're not even scared. That's the crazy part. And it's funny because I told my grandmother about this, and she keep on telling me like that's a person. That's crazy. Any red wings and everything. I'm so annoyed. Why is this thing here? Oh my god. Okay, so the invisible worm. Maybe I should take that as like a sign. Mind you, that thing is like gray, black, and red. At a glance, well, when you look at it, it's gray with like black spots or like black with gray spots. I can't really remember, but I just went to go touch it underneath the wing. The undercarriage of the wing is red. It's crazy. Fire is actually interesting, but no. Okay. So, overholds thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night. Mind you, you fly too. The invisible worm that flies in the night storm has found thy bed of crimson joy. So, the invisible worm, excuse me, the invisible worm could be, I think this was, the invisible worm. Yeah, that's it. It's not a worm at all. And if I want to think butterfly, you think butterfly. But it is more so trying to get a gist because I can't remember if initially that's something that I thought or is that something I was led to think because I came across information that depicted the worm as like a ugly person or something like that. That may have been around the lines of my second reading. Because I was like doing like little research in between time. So, okay, so if I tap into like my initial thought, oh, Rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm. I was thinking of Rose like in a typical sense, like being in a typical. I was trying not to be in a typical mentality, but to make sense of the poem, I was trying to like depict Rose to be a person, a woman specifically. Oh Rose, thou art sick. A guy telling, oh Rose, I am sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night, in the howling storm. The invisible worm that flies in the night. The worm, for some reason, I was depicting as another person. But I was kind of envisioning like this kind of Beauty and the Beast type of ordeal. That's what it was. I was I was reviewing I was viewing Rose as like a beauty and then a worm being a beast. So Rose as a depiction of someone, a woman. I am sick. Worm. Like the invisible, like the person that's not a factor. I'm saying like the beast that's not a factor. That flies in the night, in the howling storm. This, like I said, I had already had because of the following stanza saying, has found thy bed of crimson joy, and his dark secret love does thy destroy. It was making me think like, okay, so it's about like sex, it's about like betting someone or whatever, but maybe this guy, whoever the speaker is confessing to Rose of his secret love. That's why I said earlier, I kind of feel like it got the essence of like homosexuality to it, possibly, or something. He later, or the speaker later refers to, and I'm just assuming the speaker to be a he, because that's an assumption too. But I'm interpreting the poem as William Blake being the speaker. Like I can't envision nobody else. Not saying it like that, but William Blake is the one that wrote the poem. But I don't know if William Blake is writing from William Blake's perception, or if this poem is his one of his experiences. And that's the thing that's throwing me off. So if I'm looking at it from the perspective of his experience, it's like, oh, Rose, I am sick. The beast that's not a factor or whatever, that flies in the night. When you say flies, like I said, flying, transcending, it's an action, it's doing things, it's transformative, you know. The invisible worm, like I said, a worm being something that's grotesque, depicted as like beastly, flies in the night, transformative, given the illustration of like a butterfly and the butterfly's experience of transforming in the howling storm. The howling storm, butterflies transform the howling storm, but negating from that idea, if I'm looking at it from the perspective after reading it and including like sex and the bedding, the invisible worm that flies in the night in a howling storm. I can't really break this down the way I want to break this down. So the best way is to come out and just say it. But it's like the person that the speaker, you know, like deals with in the howling in deals with in the night, have sexual relations with whatever have you, because howling storm is like a moment of passion. You think, and this is probably a little bit too graphic, this video. I'm gonna make initial a statement, because if parents don't want their kids hearing about like, intimate relationships and all kinds of stuff, then they don't need to be watching this video. But a howling storm can easily be like vocal people that's vocal intimately, like and if you grown and you knocking and bucking and you know what I'm saying here, people that's vocal, in an intimate state. So, but some people have a tendency to deal with people that they don't want to deal with. So when they say invisible, I take it as when they say invisible worm, excuse me, invisible worm, a non-factor beast, somebody that's not, prevalent, is that the word? Or they're not a factor, like they're not important, like, because the speaker is confessing to this person, like, this person I've been dealing with, like, almost like if people, you hear people say, oh, I don't love them, like, yes, I dealt with them, like somebody's cheating on somebody. That's the best way to put it. Oh, I dealt with them, but I don't love them. That I love you or whatever, in that kind of mentality. Oh, Rose, I am sick. Oh, Rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night transforms. Like I said, depicting of a butterfly. Butterflies is beautiful. They're referring to a worm. It's like going from, in this aspect, it's crazy how my mind is just all, not all over the place, but it just goes into a whole bunch of different lanes. But it all makes sense to me, because I said earlier that it has a undertone of like Beauty and the Beast. Butterflies have a transitioning of being like, so Beauty and the Beast is Beauty and the Beast. Rose being the beauty, worm being the beast, but that's not the premise. Um, but when you think of a butterfly life cycle is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast relation in a way, but it's not a Beauty and the Beast relation. It's kind of like a beast to a beauty transformation. So when I read it, it's like the worm, the person that's a non-factor, but they deal with them. Like it's like Beauty and the Beast. Okay, they're a non-factor, not a point important. If you want to be kind of, how you put it, if you want to be, I don't want to say like not materialistic, but in that aspect, oh, this person is ugly or whatever. But some people is like, okay, if they ugly, then why you deal with them? Oh, because they look good at night. Like you so in that. I'm, I don't know why that. I literally have like around a lot of stuff. So, but that's how I'm thinking. Like, okay, so the invisible worm, the non-factor worm that flies in the night, that becomes more appealing in the night during the howling storm. They're not the person, but they're the person in a moment of intimacy. But they're not relevant. They're just, it's like, yeah, they're not my person, but yeah, I deal with them for something, but they're not my person. you know has found out thy bed of crimson joy. The person, that's the non-factor, has found out thy bed of crimson joy. So has found out thy bed, has found out thy bed of crimson joy. In saying that, I crimson joy, mind you, everything here, you gotta, like I said before, the undertone for this poem is passion, is sex, is love, is all of that. So, has found thy bed of crimson joy, crimson, red is, rose is red, crimson is the color red. Red is the color of passion. When you're seeing crimson joy, is like a passion joy. But when you include bed and you say found out thy bed of crimson joy, it's like kind of saying they found out their intimate joys, their intimate desires, their intimate pleasures. They found out, yeah, pretty much. So the invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy. The person that they was dealing with found out the speaker's desire, their real intimate desire, their real preference, so to speak, and that preference would be Rose, whoever's Rose in this poem, I guess. And then it goes on to say, and his dark secret love does thy life destroy. So the person, the worm, and his dark secret love does my life destroy. Like I said, I'm in my, for some reason, I'm in my, and I always depict that as my and I. So it's like the speaker is saying that the person, the worm's love for them, for the speaker, can destroy that person's life. That makes sense. It can destroy. This shit is part of my language. It's all over the place. But the person, it can destroy their life. So it's like saying, it's not like saying. It's this. It's. I'm interpreting it as the person, the person who's the speaker, their love can be, their love can be destroyed. No, it, okay, and this is why it's kind of getting me a little bit jumbled up because in the context I'm trying to convey it to y'all is like their joy, that their love can destroy the speaker's life. But it's not just that. It's also it can also destroy whatever relationship it is this speaker has with Rose. So it's like both. It's not just one. It's both. And that's the thing about this poem. It's a lot of, it's both in it, throughout it. That's it's trans. Okay, so a good thing to keep in mind in this poem, now that I'm thinking about it and I'm actually breaking this out, it makes this poem even more fire because this the it's supposed to be had been written during the British Romanticism era or Enlightenment era, British Romanticism era. I don't really recall exactly what was the premise, but I think it was I can't I can relay the Enlightenment aspect of it. Excuse me, a little bit more. So the Enlightenment era, I guess it was just more so of a rebellious type of era where people were transitioning. It was also an era, both British Romanticism, they both kind of coincide with one another. They were happening adjacently or whatever, and both was an era of transformation. It was an era of rebellion, fighting or challenging, better to say, the status quo. It was being rebellious to, like, I guess, political normatives, and I don't want to say unjust, but irrational philosophies or irrational ways of thinking. And it was like to, I guess, for the rebellious people to enforce more logical ways of thinking or literal ways of thinking, which is kind of which for it's kind of poetic itself. It kind of falls back into perspective because what's logical to one person may not be logical to the next. Like I said, there is a undertone of like homosexuality in the way in this poem, and it's kind of funny that he kind of chose this poem right now in this era that we're happening in because there's a lot in politics going on in regard to like LGBT community and all this stuff and like trans stuff, and it's a lot going on in general. So it's funny that he kind of chose this poem as one of the poems. But it was, how do I break it down? It was like get on the fly. I'm sorry. Anyways, so it was pretty much an era of it in the fight. just, and I just spit, excuse me. And it's no different from like now. Like everyone's fighting the fight. Like it's you stand for something or fall for anything or they'll. And yeah, so it's this poem is dope. I'm not gonna lie. This poem is dope. But it's just it's like more to it, and I don't know why. It's something I can't put my finger on it, but it's something that I'm trying to get out of it that I'm just not getting. And when I say that, it's like because it's so and but at the end of the day, it also plays back to what I said earlier, secret aspect. The word secret in it and the way that the poem was constructed and it just being so vague and so figurative. Because if somebody really wanted to get their message across, even if they were using figurative language, it would be extended. It would be more descriptive. It would be more figurative. It would be, just more of an illustration to really paint a picture to give someone that full experience, like, this is what I'm trying to, convey or whatever. And it's not that. It's very vague. It's like, it's kind of like being very vague and it's kind of like being very vague, but then also like, I guess, like I said earlier, it kind of feels like a conversation with somebody, but then it also feels like it could possibly be a message to somebody. So it may be a thing of, especially when you have certain words used in it that, because it's a poem and worm and storm, back to that, doesn't rhyme. But only somebody that know this person would know where they're coming from. You know, it's like friends. Like sometimes friends have secret language, you know, or sometimes partners have secret language that, you know, they understand each other. Sometimes people don't have a verbal language at all. They but they do can speak to one another. Like, you know, you when you have a connection with people, language is vast. You know, there's no specific way of communicating or whatever, unless it's just a specific way of communicating between you two or your group or whatever. So this is like, yeah, it's this I like destroy. So yeah, it could be that. Another thing that I'm trying to I keep in mind with this is like it's the worm. It's the worm because I like to make things make sense, and worm just don't make sense with storm. And I don't know why I'm putting so much emphasis on it, but it mattered, and I didn't get it until the end. And I think this is the reason. This is another reason why I didn't want to go in full details in my submission last night because I didn't add that to the submission because I'm like, look, this is personal to me. Like this is I'm not giving dropping all the time because I'm I'm in conspiracy mind frame, and I don't know if you're trying to take like my thoughts and you probably in some kind of you probably a student yourself in a whole nother school, and this is probably a problem you done got from your professor and you giving it to your student. I don't know. Anyways, like so I'm just like I said, it didn't come together until I got to the end. And in making it rhyme, like I said, this also takes place, you got to keep in mind, the late 1700s. I don't really know how they talked back then, but when I'm trying to be poetic and when I'm trying, like I said, trying to put myself in this person's shoes and, you know, imagining how they may have been. Also, considering the video I saw on YouTube of the Serenade when he did the poem with the music attached and how dramatic he was, that also catered to my end result. He still didn't do it the way I say it now. He pronounced worm, and it doesn't rhyme the way he says it in the video. And most people thus far that I've came across that's recited the poem, it does the first stanza doesn't sound like stanza. It just sounds like a statement being made and then followed by a poetic stanza in the second stanza. But yeah, so in making it rhyme, because I'm new to dissecting poetry. So I don't know if, and I'm not saying it like that because I've heard a lot of poems that don't rhyme. Like they don't have no rhythm. They don't rhyme. You know, poetry is just a form of expressing. It's just expressing yourself, and that could be delivered, excuse me, in any type of way. It's a choice to make it rhyme. So to me, there wasn't much wrong with the first stanza. The only reason why it was an issue for me is because to me it's like it don't rhyme. But clearly you're trying to make it rhyme because worm and storm ends with the same letters. So you were trying to make it rhyme. You did make that attempt, but it didn't work. But I also got to take into consideration I was born in the late 1900s. So I talk different. And then I'm from New York. Like, well, I shouldn't, I don't want to say it like that, but I was born in New York. So I have this, I do have a bit of an accent to me. even though I don't live in New York no more. I do have a bit of an accent to me. And when I read this worm, I don't really, I do pronounce the ER, but I don't like, I feel like the way I pronounce it isn't worm. I say worm. So I say it from the back of my throat and I say it with more so like a you are, as if I would say your. I don't really say it like, I don't say it like were. But I would say were. Yeah. Were. WER. Were. Versus y- I feel like that's kind of a bad, but yeah, were with the ER, your, you are, worm. To me, the or part, worm, that's how I speak, worm. So to me, it would be spelled WURM, which I don't think is a word. I'm going to research it, but I highly doubt that's a word. Oh, I forgot. I got this right here. I don't think it's a word. Worm. I got to pee. Bad. Worm, 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 worm. Yeah, no. Okay, so that's not a thing, but of course I expected that. All right, so moving forward, yeah. So I pronounce it worm. And even so, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it like ER first. O rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night, in the howling storm. Now the first sentence got a period. The second, the last three in the stanza don't. So I'm gonna read it again with the ER, but I guess more fluent. Fluid. O rose, thou O rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm. Now, in saying it how I would say it, like with my accent, it would be, O rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm. I feel like I'm forcing it now. I'm not saying it how I would really say it. O rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm. Okay. Still doesn't rhyme, mind you. So either one doesn't rhyme. But the more I speak like myself, the closer I got to my conclusion of how to pronounce it. So like I said, it was bothering me because it's not a B C D. It's not a B C D sequence at sight because the author was trying to, I'm not saying trying. He didn't try. He succeeded. He succeeded in his own lane. But for me, from my perspective, is like you were trying to make it rhyme, but it don't because of the way I speak. It don't rhyme. I don't pronounce worm, er. First of all, I pronounce it you are. But either way, worm and storm does not rhyme to me. You know, but because he was trying to make it rhyme, to me it's like, okay, so the sequence is not A B C D. I put A B C D, but it's not ABCD. It is ABCB, the same way the second stanza is ABCB. It has to be because that's what you put there. You put it there, so it's supposed to be there. You didn't make no mistake. So I don't know how I got to it, but that's what it was. I started saying storm. In the same way I pronounce storm, I would pronounce worm. So the or worm, instead of saying worm, say warm. And it sounds like warm, WARM, but it's worm. Back then, 1700s, he probably had his own poetic way. And like I said, when I watched the Serenade or something like that, or Serenade, I remember. But when I watched it, they were very, very dramatic in their reciting of the poem. So that part specifically, being dramatic, works well for me. And in saying it, like I said, in essence of the whole poem, it is a poem of like desire, sexual desire. It's a poem of shame. It's a poem. It's a very, very dark poem. It talks about rose. Rose is, it represents beauty, but it represents love. Crimson is a very, I don't even know what color crimson is. I don't know why I feel like it's a darker red. I don't know if it's darker than burgundy or not, whatever have you. I just know it's supposed to be like a reddish color, but it is a warm color. The when you think of love, you think of passion, you think of all these things. You think of the act of being intimate with somebody and all that stuff. All these things are warm. So it's kind of funny because the worm is the biggest, I guess it seems to be the biggest controversy amongst a lot of people, as like where did the worm come from in the poem. Like a lot of people just seem like they, not so much they can't make sense of it, but the worm part is a big topic, and it's a lot of things that derives from worm in this poem, that leads, that people have expanded upon or whatever. So yeah, so when you read it in that sense, in the side of warm, and I guess you be dramatic. I'm not really dramatic. But, O rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy, and his dark secret love dost thy destroy. Dost thy life destroy. Whatever. But when you say it like that, warm and storm, they rhyme. But I guess that was his. It may have possibly be his way of making it rhyme. I don't know, but I feel like it probably was because yeah, back then he probably did. He probably did. O rose, that thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night storm has found thy bed of crimson joy, and his dark secret love does thy life destroy. So yeah, and I don't feel like pronouncing worm and warm like changes. It doesn't change anything. I feel like it just adds to it. I feel like it adds to giving you a gist of his state of being. He could have been writing this stuff. I don't know what they did back then. I don't know. I have so many cliches in my head. Like he could have been writing this letter at nighttime with one of the wax stick candles, long candles or whatever, was probably melting right there on his desk. I don't know. I think that's just how it's written in calligraphy. Well, this version is. Oh yeah, I could jump into that. When I actually got to the original, I guess, document or whatever that was written with the illustration around it, because it was like a whole illustration or whatever, and in the center was the poem. but the illustration was, like I said before, it was of like a vine. It kind of gave Garden of Eden vibes in a way. Excuse me. It was the vine, and it kind of, just fell around the perimeter of the paper, the letter, or whatever. And at the top left hand corner was a caterpillar. I'm not going to say worm, but like I said, invisible worm, something that resembles a worm. It's not a worm. It's invisible. Invisible. It's seeing an invisible worm is like a worm is not there because it's not a worm. It's a caterpillar, but a caterpillar resembles a worm. So that's and also, it's up on a vine. Who knows a worm to climb? When's the last time you've seen a worm climbing up a vine? But we have seen caterpillars climb up a vine. So it's up on a vine, and then it's like it trickles over, and it's like a girl here. It's kind of bad to do it this way. I don't even know how y'all gonna be viewing, but it's like a girl on one vine, a girl on another vine, or whatever. The girl on a lower vine, she looked like she's more so going into cocooning, but the cocoon doesn't. It looks like a cocoon, but it also kind of looks like a rose in a way. It's like a cocoon, but I think it was like reddish. So it's kind of giving like the hint of like a rose. And then the girl on top, I couldn't really tell what that one was doing. I don't know if she was emerging from the cocoon or if she was going into the cocoon, and then it was something about her that was like, it was almost serpent like. Like it was something that was like like if she was like the top, because it was the top, you couldn't really see her fully, I think. I shouldn't even talk in, well, I'm just going to talk in like past tense as when I saw it, because I don't have it visually here to see it, even though I said that I'm going to make that the backdrop. So you'll be able to see it for yourself. But yeah, she kind of looked like she was going, I don't know. It was very mystical, or not mystical, mythical. It kind of looked like it could possibly have been half serpent, half not half serpent. I should say half caterpillar, half woman. But I don't want to really say caterpillar because the that half of her was so elongated. It was more so serpent like. And the more I'm talking about it now, and now it's bringing me to the thought of me explaining earlier, the whole Garden of Eden essence. And yeah, it kind of looking like, remind me of like the Garden of Eden in a way. So yeah, and then she drops down. Well, no, the vine drops down into like almost a full rose, but out of that full rose is a woman emerging. So that kind of makes, yeah, that kind of makes sense, I guess. So that's that. But then I don't know. I'm getting off this. My initial thought is my initial thought. Like I said, something about the poem I feel like is just missing. And I know it has to do with, with, society. It has to do with the woman. Because, but then I don't know, because it's like certain things is made to kind of like steer you off in a different direction. And that's why I'm saying this poem is misleading. And that's honestly the problem I have with this poem, because people just be lying. And that's another thing. Like I said earlier, this poem, it's a lot in this poem that's like it is this and it is that. And it also kind of goes into what I was just saying. I'm kind of losing my thought right now, and I'm trying to get it back. But it is an aspect of us, like it is this and it is that. but in a sense of when I'm speaking about the woman, what is it about the woman? I just lost it. I just lost it. But it's something in regards to it is this that. No, maybe also because, like I said, like I depicted it, the guy is it sounded like a guy telling a woman what she, I don't know, a guy telling a woman, and then him referring to the one that I guess he shares the bed with or something like a dark secret love. It's almost like kind of like a bisexual. You back again? It's almost kind of like a bisexual man in a way, I guess, or whatever. And so I don't know. It's kind of making me think like it. That's not what I was thinking about before, but that's what's coming to me now. It's like it is this, but it is that. But I don't know. It's something. It's something, and that's not like no. I'm a person that I won't stop until I get it, and I feel like this is it's not gonna come to me until moments later. It's not. But right now, this is what I'm dealing with. Like it's something that I'm missing. Like that's not the punchline. It's something, and that's why I said, and that's why I was saying it is this and it is that. It's like the from my perspective, the poet is like, yeah, you're telling the poem, but you're not telling the whole thing. It is this and it is that. It's something that's missing that he's not seeing. But then it also taps back into, like I said, the secret aspect. It's something that they're holding back. That makes sense. It's something that if I like, I'm not getting, and I'm leaving this alone. I'm leaving this poem alone because William Blake, you're not gonna get that much energy out of me. I feel like I've already given you enough, sir, and you should have already went and saw the Lord by now. Like so, yeah, yeah. But I feel like it is this, it is that, and with this, it's like yes, this is a poem, but if the speaker really wanted the reader to know fully what was going on or interpret it, come on, then they would they would definitely have said that. Like they would definitely have put it all in here, and he didn't. So that brings me to think, yeah, it's nothing for me to. They would have said it. That's it. Like they they would have got to that point, and it didn't. That one. Thank y'all for dealing with me. If you are doing this poem, feel free to give me a view on the poem because right now I feel like that's my perception. I've already got my mother's perception. She has a whole different like, and the other people that I've kind of got theirs is different. But yeah, this poem definitely dope. It's just it's something. It's yeah. It's something. It's something. I can't put my there's so much going through my mind right now that like it can possibly be, but I just wanted to get that out. If I go any deeper with this, then I feel like me just getting this off my chest because, like I said, I didn't do it in my submission last night, so it was kind of necessary for me to do this now because it was something that was weighing on me. Funny, and then I don't know why it's this and it is that is coming to mind right now, but like it's something that was weighing. I knew it would have been weighing on me because I didn't get everything I wanted to say out in my assignment that I submitted. So it's like here I got everything I wanted to say out. But if I go any deeper, it's probably gonna start giving me a headache. And right now, I feel amazing that I just got all this off. I just was able not to get it off my chest, but break down like my perception of it and how I, you know, receive it because it's kind of like I don't like to act like I'm not someone that's holding back when the rest of the thoughts, if I do get any kind of further information, then I'll probably make like another video down the line or whatever as a final breakdown. But as right now, I'm good. So I ain't got to bring nothing down. Thank y'all for bearing with me. Thank you for watching. I hope, excuse me, this help if you have like an assignment or something. If not, sorry. But yeah, take care. Love you, but don't know you, but love you anyways. Have a nice one.